Hi, Todd Martin here with the Walking Code. I want to talk a little bit more in this video about the problem of heel striking when we walk. Is heel striking the cause of back pain, hip pain, knee pain, foot pain, or is there something else that is the cause? There are people out there that are trying to convert people over to forefoot strike walking, meaning walking on the balls of the feet, because of their assertion that heel striking is what's causing all of this pain that people are having out there when they walk. So let's look at this a little bit more logically, because there are no real studies that are going to give evidence that heel striking is the cause of all of this sort of pain, and no evidence out there that forefoot striking is the right way to walk and forefoot striking is going to improve all this pain. Now, you might ask, why are there no studies? Well, there are no studies out there because practically 100% of people out there in every country walk with a heel strike. So very difficult to do a comparison study between people who forefoot walk and people who heel strike walk, because everybody walks with a heel strike other than the small number of people who are trying to be converted by watching YouTube videos. So let's look at what we can look at in a logical sense. Is back pain being caused by heel strike walking? Well, as I said, and as anybody can just see from casual observation when you walk outside your door, everybody walks with a heel strike. So then you would expect that everybody would have back pain. So do they? Well, the research shows that about 4% of people in the 18 to 39-year-old age range have chronic back pain. That is a very low number. That means 96% of people that are under 40 do not have chronic back pain, and they're walking with a heel strike because everybody walks with a heel strike. So if 96% of people who've been walking for 40 years don't have back pain, that would lead me to believe that there's something other than the heel strike causing the problem. But maybe it is just a longer period of time that we need to wait for damage to occur. Let's look at people who are over the age of 60. So people who are getting towards the elderly years. What percentage of them have chronic back pain? Well, the studies show about 25% of people over the age of 60 are suffering from chronic lower back pain. That seems like a higher number, but still that means that 75% of older people who have been walking for more than 60 years with a heel strike their entire life do not have chronic back pain. Again, that would lead me to believe that there is something else as the cause of the back pain, and that maybe people who are pushing for changing the fundamental nature of walking maybe the same sort of people who do have a dysfunctional way of walking that causes them back pain, and they believe that that means everybody else is having the same problem. And so they have ascribed their back pain to the heel strike, so they assume everybody is having the same issue with heel striking. But since only 4% of people under age 40 have chronic back pain issues, it's probably not the heel strike. And since only 25% of older people have chronic back pain, it's probably something other than the heel strike. And you'll hear, if you watched my other videos, all of the different walking problems that I do believe people have that are going to attribute to this sort of back pain and knee pain and hip pain and foot pain. But it is not the heel strike. It's some variation of the movement that is causing misalignment of the body and improper impact on the body when we walk. If you watch my top 5 walking tips video, I will go over some of those. You've got the duck-footed walk, which causes misalignment as we move. You've got the forward lean when people pitch forward when they walk, actually significantly increasing the normal impact on the joints when we walk. We've also got overstriding, which increases the impact when we walk. We've got bouncing up and down that people do that increases the impact and causes misalignment when we walk. We've got the cross arm swing that people do when they walk. So there are a variety of different walking mistakes that people make that do cause hip pain, back pain, knee pain, foot pain over time. But the problem is not the placement on the heel. It is the incorrect core mechanics causing incorrect placement of the foot. When we walk normally, we have a very low impact on the heel. You don't see me crashing into the heel when I'm walking normally. You see a touch and a roll. There's no braking that people say, heel striking causes you to put on the brakes and a sudden stop. Do you see a sudden stop as I'm walking? There is no sudden stop when we walk correctly with the heel. Is there a heavy heel impact smashing into the ground? No, there's a placement of the heel and a gentle rolling. Very little impact when we walk correctly. Even if we walk fast, if we do it correctly, there is very little heel impact when we do it. So if you hear people trying to say that everybody in the world is walking incorrect and should be changing over to a forefoot strike, just look at the logic of it and understand that there are other reasons aside from heel striking that is the real cause.